live from San Antonio, Texas. This is a Drinking Buddies podcast. I'm Quentin.
And I'm Alex. And welcome to our show. On this podcast, you're going to hear about all things sports. Specifically, we're going to talk about basketball. We're going to talk about football. We'll talk about baseball and
the philosophy of the game.
So we have a lot of topics to talk about. Now, with the NBA draft coming up, we definitely want to delve into our favorite team, which is
the San Antonio Spurs.
Exactly. So we're going to get into the draft. We're going to get into what we think the Spurs need to do and what our advice is and what we think could happen on draft night, because there are a lot of interesting things that are humming right now on the internet. Quentin, talk a little bit about what you've heard as far as the rumor mill is concerned.
I mean, you hear things like Spurs trading up, Spurs trading down. Every rumor seems to be surrounding the Spurs and what they're going to do to try and put pieces around Wemby.
If you're a Spurs fan like we are, you know that 95% of what's out there is all just untrue. It's all disinformation because the Spurs never show their hand. That's one thing that you have to say about this franchise is that they do not shoot from the hip. They think everything out. They're a very well-calculated franchise. Right now, the Spurs are picking at number 4, and they're picking at number 8. You've heard things like, well, maybe they're going to trade up for number 1. Thank you, first of all, for coming on and listening to us. I really think you're going to get a lot out of this show. He and I are huge sports enthusiasts, and I want to give you a little background on me. My name is Alex. I'm 56. I just retired from AT&T December of last year, so I wanted a new career. This seems like a heck of a career to have. I'm going to tell you, I've been in sports. I've played football in college at Texas Tech, and I'll tell you one thing about why I think you'll want to listen to me is I do have insight. I do have friends that are in the business, and I think you'll gain a lot of knowledge from me, and I'm eager to learn from you guys as well. So thank you for letting us into your house and into your heart.
Into your heart?
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Quentin. I teach college philosophy here in San Antonio, and there's two things I'm very passionate about: philosophy and sports, particularly the San Antonio Spurs. I've been an avid Spurs fan since I could comprehend sports. I watch pretty much every game. I scout, I analyze the draft.
And let me tell you guys, when he says that he scouts, and I'm going to tell you why. He'd been talking about Victor Wembanyama, who, of course, was the first pick for the Spurs last year. I've been talking about him since he was 14 years old. I was so sick and tired of this guy talking about him. Hey, Dad, we need to get this guy, Victor Wembanyama. I didn't even remember that. I said, who? Banana who? He's a really good ball player. Dad, we got to get him. I was like, son, we're never going to suck that bad that we're going to get the first pick in the draft if this guy's even going to get there. Well, lo and behold, Mr. Philosophy came up big there.
Another reason why I wanted to do this podcast is because I do make these predictions. Not all of them come true, right? But going back to
give him an example.
Rudy Gobert.
No, give him an example of a bad one.
Oh, a bad one. Okay, so in the same draft as Rudy Gobert, I said, we need to get this guy Rudy. And my dad laughed at me. He said, another French guy? I said, yeah, he's going to be really good. He's going to be a great defender. And I also said, Livio Jean-Charles was a good pick. So that one was not a good pick. But for the most part, I tend to anticipate who's going to do well and who's not. So not that I'm an expert or anything, but I do take the time all year. The draft is probably my favorite time of the year, off-season stuff, right? I mean, I love watching it come together and be put on.
And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to interject something here.
Go ahead.
So I'm friends with a couple of people in the NBA, and we were so fortunate last year to be able to go to Brooklyn, New York to see the NBA draft.
Yeah.
We're going to post pictures and video on our website for you guys to check out. But we actually got to sit in the lower bowl because the floor is all reserved for family, friends, and the players. So we were able to actually go to the event. I'm telling you guys, he and I will never forget it. It was an amazing experience.
It was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, especially to see Wemby get drafted. I mean, that was That's huge.
It was full circle for him because he's been talking about this guy.
Yeah.
Like, Dad, we got to get him. And I thought, you know what? For all those years of him talking this dude up, I need to make this experience happen. And thank God for Otis Birdsong, because Otis is the one that wound up hooking us up. Thank you, Otis, wherever you are.
Thank you, Otis. You're the man.
So, guys, thank you for joining us. This episode is called Spur of the Moment. We're going to talk about the NBA draft. We're going to talk about different things going on that we've heard both on TV and in the internet as far as the rumor mill is concerned. Because right now the Spurs are picking at 4, 8, 35, and 48. I don't think they're going to keep all of them, and you guys shouldn't expect that either. So right now we're going to kind of delve into some of the things that we've heard, and Quentin's going to talk a little bit more about that. Tell us about it, buddy.
Right. So the primary thing that we've been hearing is that the Spurs are going to move up in the draft, possibly going for the first pick. And people have been talking about trading 4 and 8 for the first pick, which I think is too rich. I think that would be a great deal for Atlanta. I don't think it would really benefit us, especially since this draft class is considered not as strong as previous draft classes.
Or as strong as 2025, because there are rumors that that's going to be a huge class, and the
Absolutely.
Spurs have a possible 4 first-round picks next year.
That's right. And, people like Cooper Flagg, Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper next year, they're all going to be game-changing franchise players. You don't
You
really
see what I'm talking about, guys? How he knows all this stuff? It's just crazy. It's crazy how he can just shoot those names off like nothing.
Well, I think when it comes to looking to move up in the draft, there's not really a player that I think is going to be that kind of game changer. I know they would move up probably for Zachary Rizache, which would make sense to me.
I don't know if it's worth moving to 1, though. I think second pick, I wouldn't mind. I don't know that I'd want to give up the King's ransom, because really the thing is, Atlanta wants to get their draft capital back. For
Right.
some of you guys who have not been keeping up with it, a few years ago we traded DeJounte Murray, and we wound up getting a treasure trove of picks from Atlanta. We wound up getting basically
3 firsts.
3 firsts, and a pick swap.
No, 2 firsts and a pick.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So, see what I mean, guys? He's keeping me correct. It's just Atlanta's going to want some of that draft capital back because they had 3% chance of getting the first pick in the draft. So they're playing with house money right now. But one of the things that I want you to talk about, Quentin, is the fact that Memphis has kind of come into the picture for the Spurs. Tell us a little bit about that.
Right. There's been lots of rumors that Memphis is trying desperately to trade up in the draft to get Donovan Clingan, and he would probably be there at 4 if Atlanta doesn't take him. Now, I've also heard that Atlanta is very interested in taking Donovan Clingan at 1. Now, if he falls to 4, Memphis wants to try to move up to get him. And the package that I heard, I think it was posted. What was the
It was
article?
posted on CBS Sports, I believe.
Right,
or Bleacher Report, one or the other.
The proposal was the 4th pick in Keldon Johnson for Marcus Smart, Zaire Williams, the 9th pick, and I believe the 29th pick, and a future second.
And a future second, yes.
And although I can see how that makes sense especially for Memphis, that's a really good deal for them. I'm not too sure I want an aging Marcus Smart, an unproven Zaire Williams,
Yes.
Um,
And the 9th pick.
the 9th pick,
That
and the
might be
29th
sliding a
pick.
little too far because we'd be picking 8 and 9.
Right.
I don't see the logic in that. I think they're probably going to wind up trading out of 8 if they get 9. Maybe they trade down and get Dallas's pick, and they try to get maybe another draft capital piece or something along those lines, maybe a couple of picks. But here's the thing. Memphis really, it seems that they do want Clingan. They want to put him next to Jaren Jackson Jr. to kind of fortify the post. My opinion is, of the two deals, like either going up and moving up to first for Atlanta, I wouldn't want to do that. I'm either going to stay,
Especially if we have to give 4 and 8.
Oh yeah, that's crazy. I'm either going to stand pat, or I'm going to go ahead and trade down. and get Memphis's pick, because I'll tell you what, I like Marcus Smart. I think he has some ability. I think he can help lead that point guard position and fortify it a little bit. We need a point guard who's not going to try and ball hog and take over the game.
Right. Which I don't think Trey Jones necessarily did. I think Trey Jones did a fine job, but he's not a franchise point guard.
And he's not reliable as a scorer.
My only problem with Marcus Smart is that he doesn't really fit the timetable for Wemby. I know people want to rush this rebuild to get as many people around Wemby as possible, but what I would do is focus on the young guys in this draft. And I think having 4 and 8, you get 2 bites at the apple. And I think that you get 2 swings to, well, I guess it's the same as bite at the apple. But, you get the apple. Yeah, exactly. What I would do, though, is I would trade the 4th pick and the 35th pick in a future first, maybe Atlanta's pick swap in 2026 for the 2nd pick. Because I think Atlanta... I'm not sure if they get Reza Shea. If they get Reza Shea,
I don't think that's happening. Yeah. I think Atlanta's either going to go with Sarr, or they're going to trade down far enough to get Klingon.
Right.
Here's the thing. Atlanta really, really, really wants the Spurs to give back some of that draft capital. If any of you have seen Draft Day, that show with Kevin Costner, that's kind of what happened there. They kind of played that out where they... Seattle basically accosted Cleveland and took a whole treasure trove of picks. And everybody was like, oh my God, Kevin Costner's completely gone off the reservation and giving up all this draft capital to pick somebody that he could have picked at the point he was at anyway. I think Atlanta is really desperate to try to get some of their future players back. Now, the thing is, you've got DeJounte Murray in play, and you've got Trae Young in play. And the problem is with Trae Young, the guy's a ball hog. He needs to put up the ball 25, 30 times. Where are you going to get the shots for Wemby? How are you going to get the other guys involved?
And that's an interesting point that you bring up about Murray. My thoughts are, if we did trade up for the first pick, that's an indication that the Spurs are going to take Reza Shea and then focus on trading for a guard. Maybe a Darius Garland, maybe a DeJounte Murray. And I think if you packaged the 4th pick and a future first for the first pick, maybe include Keldon Johnson and some other draft capital.
Maybe you give him Branham.
Maybe
I can't wait to move Branham. Serious. He did some good things, but I think
he doesn't play defense at all.
No, and the other thing is sometimes these guys need to move on. I can't tell you how many times that I'd see on different blogs, on different things that were going on as far as Spurs social media, where you had people just griping about Derek White. Why did we get rid of Derek White? Why did we get rid of DeJounte Murray? Well, the simple matter is, if we hadn't done the things we did, we would not wind up with number 1.
Including drafting Josh Primo, which I was livid about.
Oh, yeah. Sadiq Bey was a guy we could have had.
Şengün was a guy we could have had.
We've talked about this ad nauseum. There's different guys. Halliburton, we could have had Halliburton.
Well, that was the Vassell draft.
Yes, and I think
we
Vassell's worked out fine for us.
I think so. I love Tyrese Halliburton, but I think Devin Vassell is due for a breakout year, and especially since
he already started it last year.
Yeah,
he put up almost 20 points a game. His 3-point shooting got better. His defensive prowess is there. I dig him. I think he's a part of the future.
Right.
I love Keldon. I love them at Kentucky, but I think the writing's on the wall. I think that if you look at the analytics, their defense dropped to like minus 12 or something like that when he was on the floor. When he was not on the floor, and they had guys like Champagny and they had Sohan in there in the mix, they were +3 or over 3. So to me, it's kind of like they have to move on from him.
Yeah, he doesn't really fit the scheme.
He doesn't, and his contract is friendly. It's only like $80 million, somewhere in that range.
Right. He's going to be a very. So we are going to need to make trades. I mean, that's inevitable because we can't draft 17 players in the next 5 years or whatever it is.
Yeah, because one thing you guys want to think about is there's 4 slots that the Spurs have in the 2024 draft. They're already full. they're going to have to make trades. We are both talking about this. Devontae Graham is probably going to be on.
And I love
the list.
Devontae. I wish he wouldn't leave, but he's going to have to. That's a $12 million contract.
Absolutely. He's probably going to have to go. Maybe Collins doesn't fit anymore. And those contracts are friendly. They're not like, Vassell signed for $140 million. That contract's not friendly. But Keldon's is about half of that. Devontae Graham is in the last year of his contract, pays $12 million. They might not move him on Thursday. They might not do that. But at the trade deadline, I could see him going.
Well, even before the offseason begins, I think that there's a lot of moves to consider. Maybe someone wants a contract to be traded in order to waive Devontae. I think that would work out. Like if Atlanta traded the first pick, right? We could send Devontae and Keldon, and I would even be willing to do 4 and 8 and a future first in order to get DeJounte Murray and the first pick.
Well, let me tell you, my opinion is, this is what I think. We need to stand pat. We get 4 and 8. I'd love to see if Reese Shea falls to 4. I don't think he will, but
if he fell to 4, that'd be a godsend.
Houston screwed the pooch before on drafts. Washington, they're not world beaters. You're talking about a team that drafted Kwame Brown first overall. So you're not dealing with rocket scientists over there either. You've got Atlanta, and Atlanta's not sure what they want to do.
Right.
What they would really do, what would be their ideal scenario, would be to try to move Trae Young and give up the first pick as a carrot and take our 4 and 8. I say no to that. I say no a million times over.
I agreed with standing pat, and the reason why is there's not too much of a difference between the players at the top versus the players that are going to be there at 4.
Yeah, these are all builder pieces. These
right.
are not franchise cornerstones.
These are not players that you build around. They're players you build with. And so there's going to be a lot of good role players. This class is not garbage.
No, and everybody tries to say that they are.
Right. It's not the 2000.
There's talented players. If you watch the NCAA championship,
right.
Castle's amazing. I wouldn't mind Castle at 4.
I wouldn't.
I would hope we could get him at 8. I doubt it.
Right. Because Charlotte's probably going to take him if he falls to 6.
Another guy. Let's say that they do handle the situation with Memphis and they do business with them.
Right.
And they get the 9th pick. I would love Carter. I would love Devin Carter.
Right.
From Providence. I think he is an amazing athlete. And he fits the bill. He's a sturdy guy. He attacks. He's got a great shot.
He's a tenacious defender.
Defense. Yeah, he plays defense. That's the biggest thing.
Right. I also like Cody Williams from Colorado. Cody Williams is a 6'8" forward that he's brothers with Jalen Williams. And I think that he's a project piece. I think the strategy going in, let's just assume that we stick at 4 and 8. Hopefully, at 4, we can end up with someone like either Zachary Rizache, Reed Shepard, or Stephon Castle. Now, I honestly think Houston is going to take Reed Shepard at 3. That's what I've been hearing. I think they're very high on him. The analytics suggest that Reed Shepard is going to produce a good amount, and I agree.
He's a 3-point shooting machine.
He shot 52% at Kentucky. That is unheard of.
But there's a difference between doing that in college and doing it when you put your big boy pants on and go in the pros.
That's fair. But at the same time,
he might be more of a 40s guy. He might be like 44, 45%, which is still good.
It's still solid.
But I don't know. And plus the fact that he's 6'3", I don't dig that.
Right.
I think if I'm going to get a 6'3" Shepard or a 6'3", Devin Carter, I'd rather have Devin Carter. That's just my opinion. The guy was Big East Player of the Year. That counts for something if you think about some of the competition that he had to beat out to get that award.
But let's say we get Rizache, Castle, or Shepard at 4. Then at 8, I think you could take a swing at a project player like a Tijon Salon, a Cody Williams.
And Tijon Salon has been mentioned as far as
Spurs.
the second pick for the Spurs in the lottery.
So. Right, which he is extremely raw. I'm not the biggest fan of Salon, but he's probably the biggest boom or bust in this draft. And if anyone can make him boom, it's the Spurs.
Now, there is a point guard that a lot of people are tying the Spurs to, and you don't dig him. Tell us who that is.
Rob Dillingham.
besides Dillingham, there was a foreign guy.
Oh, Nikola Topic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Explain why you don't dig him. He's 6'6". He's got decent handle. He's got a good shot. Why is it that you don't think he would fit the Spurs way?
It's not that he wouldn't fit the Spurs way. I think the Spurs would be able to get a lot out of him, but when I watch his highlights, I don't see a guy that translates well to the physicality of the NBA. When you look at him, one of his biggest, well, he's a playmaker, right? He could pass like no one else, right, in this draft.
But he's on one wheel.
Well, that's the biggest concern right now. But aside from that, let's just say he was completely healthy. I still wouldn't want the Spurs to draft him. And the reason is when you look at his highlight, they say he can get to the basket. When you look at all the attempts that he took, it was against poor defense, right? It wasn't against these monsters in the middle like Embiid or Jokic or Gobert or Antetokounmpo, right? And so I don't see his shot translating well at all. He kind of has this weird like flick that he does, kind of like how Tony Parker, remember when he would shoot it?
Yeah.
He would have that weird follow through.
Yeah.
It was kind of just real quick.
And that was even with having Chip England, the shot doctor. He
Right.
still couldn't cure that.
Right.
Now, he did wonders with Kawhi. Oh, I can't stand that fella. And I only can't stand him because he left us high and dry. But again, if you go in
he hadn't
retrospect,
done that.
if he hadn't done that, we wouldn't have Wemby.
That's right.
And it's all about Wemby. This
rather
team
have-
is all about Wemby.
Yeah.
You just have to find the pieces to complement Wemby. Not just in the draft, but in free agency.
Right.
One thing I'm going to talk to you about, and you and I disagree on this. If Bronny James is available with our second round pick, I am all over him like stink on a monkey.
So-
Because I am telling you, if LeBron's a man of his word, and he generally is, he said wherever his son goes, he follows. He can opt out of his contract. If you can make a move and get Keldon moving on that $80 million deal, if you can move Devontae Graham, if you can move a couple of these other side pieces that are not going to help the Spurs going forward as part of the right now winning mentality, which I think they want to do because they don't want to see Wembanyama leave. They want to make him happy. Now, to me, there's a happy medium you can commit by going with the future, but working on the current. And I think if you can get LeBron to come here for, say, $25 million on a 2-year deal where he can opt out after the first year, and you bring his son in and let him come off the bench, you go and have him, you have to put him on a 2-way contract. But get him in there with the Austin Spurs, get him getting some work in, and then come over and see what he can do. He did turn some heads at the NBA Draft Combine.
That's true. He did show a lot at the Combine, but he's not an NBA player. He's not ready. He needed at least another year in college.
But here's my thing. What are you going to do with that second pick at 48? Are you really going to be able to get a world beater? It's not like we got a Manu sitting in this draft. We don't.
No.
You know, I think you take a swing for the fences if he's there. Now, all indications are the Lakers are going to pick him up, or Golden State. I've heard rumors that Golden State likes him.
I also heard Phoenix at 22, which if Bronny goes in the first round, that's just a play to try to get LeBron because he is not a first-round pick.
Yeah, and if he goes at that position, I've got some swampland in Oklahoma that you might be interested in purchasing.
I don't know what that means. But,
Okay,
here's-
I've got some beautiful penthouses in Oklahoma that I could sell you. Is that better?
No, I don't know.
Okay,
Anyway,
well, anyway.
So here's why I don't like the idea of LeBron coming to San Antonio. It's not because I don't trust LeBron or like LeBron. I think LeBron, even at 40, is still LeBron James. He hasn't really lost that much of a step at all, which is remarkable. He's not the GOAT, by the way. Michael Jordan's the GOAT.
Michael Jordan is the GOAT.
Period.
End of story.
All right, let's stop doing that.
Fair enough.
So, I don't think LeBron fits the timeline of what they want to do. And let me just ask you this. Do you want to rush the rebuild, or do you want it to sort of naturally progress?
I think you could find a happy medium between both. I don't think Wemby's going to be happy winning 20, 25, 30 games this year at all. And I'm going to tell you something else. Being a Spurs fan since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, I've had to deal with a lot of disrespect by the mainstream media. And the rankings are no different this year. They've got the Spurs near the bottom again. I don't think Wemby's going to be too chill about that. I think he wants to see the Spurs get to 40 games, get to 38 games. That way he could see that there is progress. And the only way that's going to happen, it's not going to happen with a bunch of young guys. It's going to happen with some young guys, and you mix in a few vets. And I'm going to tell you, I love LeBron's game now. I thought he was very selfish before. I thought the whole thing was all about him. I watched a few games this year where he played. That fella has brought his three-point game now. I love his shot. And with Wemby, you need guys that can shoot threes.
It's kind of like Vince Carter towards the end of his career.
Absolutely.
How he started becoming more of a three-point threat.
You take your ego out of the equation.
Right.
And that's what LeBron's done.
And I think that he's a fan. Wherever he's going to go, he's going to make a difference. But
he's going to put butts in the seats.
That's
and
true.
He's also going to get us some advertising. He's also going to get the mainstream media and the NBA world all looking here at the 210.
That does happen to put some pressure, though, on Wemby to perform and succeed immediately. And I think...
But I think he can do it. Look what he did
I think he can do it. I think he can handle the pressure. But my only thing is, with Wemby, I don't think we need to rush this. And here's my rationale. Hearing Wemby speak, he's not your typical megastar. He's not your typical megastar. He falls in line with the Tim Duncans, the David Robinsons, who have a level head. They have the patience. I know he's not going to be patient forever. He wants to win. He's a winner. That's what winners do. But he also recognizes that we are in the midst of a rebuild, that we are trying, the way the Spurs do it, we don't get free agents. We usually build through the draft, which I know if that's all we did, that wouldn't work. We do need to strike a balance because we do need to make some trades. We do need to get some veteran players around Wemby. But I think waiting until next offseason is the time to strike.
No.
I think we need to play it a little bit more conservatively this summer.
Yeah.
Maybe bring in a Derek Jones Jr., maybe bring in a Hardenstein, right? Hardenstein. Regardless of the moves that we make, the beautiful thing about having Wemby is everyone's going to want to play with him.
Don't tap your table. Start over.
The beautiful thing about this rebuild is everyone is going to want to play with Wemby. So the future is looking very bright for San Antonio. We've actually never had this much of a superstar come in and change the way that people perceive San Antonio, because they're going to want to look at this place as a destination to go.
I agree. I love Timmy. He's one of the all-time greats. We wouldn't have any of our championships without him. The other thing is, guys, stick with me here. If Sean Elliott doesn't hit the Memorial Day Miracle, I don't know that we win 5 rings. I don't know if we even win 1 ring, because we were so snake bit for so many years where we were 2 and out. It was heartbreaking. So, Timmy, huge anchor, huge difference maker, champion. Just the DNA of a champion is right there with number 21.
But he never brought that sort of...
Wemby brings flavor. He
does.
brings pizzazz. He brings that, what do they call it in France?
Je ne sais quoi.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
See, again, he knows it, guys. He knows the language I'm speaking. Wemby has the it factor. Not only the fact that he's 7'5", but the fact of the matter is he has flair. He's dangerous. There's been other bigs.
And he's very intelligent.
Yeah, but there's been other bigs, Gobert, these guys. They're not blocking three-point shots. Wemby's doing that.
Right.
Wemby can do that on a consistent basis. He was doing that, and I couldn't believe when he blocked Klay Thompson's shot. I could not believe that.
He's been working out with Jamal Crawford this summer, too.
Yeah.
So if he gets a handle like that next year, look out.
Yeah.
Because he's going to be unstoppable.
Absolutely.
Look at what he did at 20.
But we need to put a guy next to him. I would love Reece Shea. I would love to put that guy next to him shooting threes.
Right.
I don't want to give up the farm to do it.
No.
I don't. No. I love Stephon Castle. I love the things he brings. Bottom line, guys, we have salary cap space we have pieces that we can move that will give us a chunk of money back. We could be looking at $35 million under the cap with some moves happening. I don't think you trade to Atlanta. I don't think you do business with Atlanta at all, because you're doing them a favor by moving on either Trae Young or DeJounte Murray. I think the future looks bright. I'm completely with you 1,000,000%. I think whatever happens this Thursday, and that'll be on ABC and it'll be on ESPN, it's going to be a fun time. And the fact that they're going to do 2 days worth of draft time.
And this is something that you've always told me. Trust the process. Because trust in Pop in the front office. They always seem to know what's best, except for Josh Primo.
But even that worked out.
It did, because if we would have had Şengün, we probably would have won more games. But so we do. I mean, no franchise is going to make 100% of the moves.
No, nobody bats 1,000.
Right.
Nobody. Ask the Lakers.
Ask the Steelers.
Ask Boston.
The Steelers usually.
Boston hadn't won a championship since 2008.
Right.
Couldn't believe that. That's
Right.
16 years.
Yeah.
You were 16 when that happened. Believe it or not, folks.
All right, so now let's get into Q&A with Q&A. A segment where we ask each other questions and give our hot takes on it. Now,
Sounds like a plan.
going forward, we would love to have the audience ask us questions that we can answer. But starting with this, I have a question for you.
So, Quentin, let me just say this. Guys, when you do provide us with an awesome question that we can give you our hot take on, we would love to send you a gift as our way of saying thanks for being a part of the show. So, with that being said, Quentin, you go ahead and fire away.
Okay. If you had to choose to trade for a point guard, would you rather trade for DeJounte Murray or Darius Garland?
Neither. And I'm going to tell you who I would love to get. He's a little long in the tooth, but he's electric. He has talent. And for the right price, he probably would go, because this team's on the verge of a rebuild. Steph Curry. I love Steph Curry, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. I have a man crush on him. He is an amazing player. I followed his dad, Dell, when he was with the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Charlotte Hornets. The guy is a machine. I would love for him to play this position. He can dish the ball. He's a three-point menace. You see some of his stuff on Instagram where he's shooting from half court, where he's shooting from the other side of the court. He is phenomenal. That would be my pick. Tell me what you think about that.
I think you're high if you think the Warriors would ever trade Steph Curry. That would be like saying, "Oh,
The Spurs traded Tim Duncan
to the Mavericks or something," right?
Well, we almost traded David Robinson to the
Mavericks
Dallas
for
Mavericks.
Dirk. Yeah,
they talked about that.
they
Dirk
did.
Nowitzki for David. And our guy said no. I
Yeah,
would have done it. I
would-
love David. The Admiral's one of my favorite. I would have taken Dirk in a heartbeat.
Agree to disagree on that point. But when it comes to Steph Curry, I agree with everything you said about his talent. Now, I don't have a man crush like you do, but I think he would bring a lot to the table. He still has a lot of game left.
He does.
But they're never going to trade.
Okay, Quentin, now I'm going to ask you a question.
Shoot.
If you had to choose between trading up to number one or trading down with Memphis, with all the players in play that would be bantered about, what would be your move?
I'd probably trade up, and my rationale is by trading up, you would probably be looking specifically for Riza Shea. Now, depending on the package, right? Because I would not want to trade 4 and 8 just to move up to number one. I would trade 4 and a future first. But the reason I say that is there's a lot of talent at the top of the draft. When you get to that 7 to 10 range, there's still a lot of talent, but you're reaching for more upside guys rather than people that you know they're going to contribute in these ways, like a Stephon Castle, like a Reed Shepherd, like a Riza Shea.
So who are you going to take from Atlanta? Because you know they're going to want to dump a poo-poo platter on you. They're going to make you take Trae Young or DeJounte Murray. But
No,
their
I think-
emphasis is going to be on Trae Young. Are you willing to take on Trae Young?
No, I don't think they would dump the first pick and Trae Young. I think that they would trade the first pick and maybe Clint Capella, maybe get a bad contract off their books.
But see, all the talk has been they would only do business with the Spurs on that type of thing, and they want to because they want to get some of their picks back, but they want to unload one of those contracts because they can't keep them both.
Right.
They were 6 games under 500 last year, so you're going to have to take one point guard. So on that, and I hate asking a question on top of the question, but you have to pick one just for the sake of argument here. Who are you taking and why?
Taking that.
But with the trade, would you take Trae Young?
Oh, I'd take
Murray, and why?
I take Murray because Trae Young, although he has led the league in assists, I think DeJounte is more of a traditional point guard. Plus, he plays defense. Trae Young is a negative defender, like by far.
And his contract's ridiculous.
It is. It's an albatross. And with DeJounte, I think you get the best of both worlds on offense and defense. He's a two-way player, and he's not necessarily more of a facilitator, but I think that he has about an equal prowess in terms of playmaking. So I would take DeJounte over Trae Young if we had to. But to answer your original question, I would say trade up, maybe not for the first pick, but maybe the second pick, hoping that Sarr goes first or Clegan goes first.
Gotcha. Okay, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed Q&A with Q&A. This is what we like to call sipping trivia.
Cheers.
Cheers. Now, before we imbibe, we're going to ask each other a question. You get that question wrong, you got to take a sip. We're going to do it for 3 questions total, and we are going to start that with you, big guy.
Okay. All right, big guy. Who is the Spurs' all-time leader in steals?
In steals. Monty Ginobili.
That is correct. That means I got
You take a sip, boy.
Okay.
All right. I think you're going to be hammered by the end of the segment, Quentin, because I got one for you, too.
Okay.
Okay. Devin Carter, who I am sweet on as far as the Spurs picking at number 8 or number 9 if we make a deal with Memphis. He has a dad who played in the NBA. What's his name?
Anthony Carter. That was too easy.
Son.
I got one for you.
Nothing goes down better on a Sunday afternoon than a Michelob Ultra.
Please sponsor us. I have another one.
Shoot.
Tim Duncan ranks in what position on the all-time scoring leader list?
Tim Duncan, I believe, ranks number 16.
That is correct. Nice.
Don't hate the player, hate the game. Now, I got one that's a follow-up to the Anthony Carter. True or false? Anthony Carter played for the San Antonio Spurs.
True.
We're going to both be hammered.
Okay, I got one that should stump you. In 1999, we drafted Manu Ginobili with the 57th pick in the second round.
Yes.
Who did we draft in the first round?
Of the 99 draft?
99.
That's a good one. I don't think we had a first-round pick in that.
We did.
Wow, really?
Yep.
I'm having a reach on this one.
I think I stumped him.
I think you did. I think you stumped the Schwab.
Yeah.
Sorry, Schwab, but we had to borrow that. Gosh. Wasn't it a center?
I think he was a power forward.
Okay, big guy, kind of burly. I can't remember his name.
Leon Smith.
That's him, son of a gun, son of money. Okay, my last one for you. Where did Anthony Carter go to college?
Ooh,
I got him, folks. I got him.
I think so. Providence.
Nope.
Nope.
Take a big swig. Anthony Carter played at community college, and then he transferred to the University of Hawaii.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And guys, I am all about pedigree, and I am telling you right now, to me, Anthony Carter fits the bill with his son about pedigree. I have been big on that with like Curry, the Currys, Klay Thompson, even though his dad did not want to play here, David Thompson, made me sick. I'm all about pedigree. If guys have done it and their fathers did it, I'm into that. Just like baseball. You know, I think pedigree goes a long way. So, in my opinion, we need to take a swing for him. I think he's going to be a heck of an athlete.
So did we tie?
I think
we
I
did.
got you by one.
No, I got you with the Leon Smith.
No, but I
question.
got my answers right, though.
Not the
I
Leon
only missed
Smith.
one.
I only missed one.
No, you missed a couple.
No, I missed one.
Hawaii?
That was it. That was it.
No, I thought you missed the first one.
No, I got the first two.
I don't know. I think
trying
you're
to
lying.
cheat.
I think he's lying. I think he's buzzing, folks.
Taking another sip though.
All right, there we go. And on that note, guys, thank you for being a part of our first podcast. There are going to be many more to come, many more different varieties, and we're going to touch on different subjects. So again, my name is Alex,
My name is Quentin.
and thank you again for being a part of this podcast. Thank you,
Don't
Tombstone.
include that.